This is Stronger Than My Father with Marcus Manise.
Welcome back to another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. I am your host, Marcus Manise Sr. Stronger Than My Father podcast is your most trusted podcast centered around restoring fatherhood in America. As you see, guys, I'm not in my regular studio, so I have to thank my good friend Jim McCarthy at jmvos.com for allowing me to use his studio again to record another podcast episode. Also, if you live in the Nashville area or in the Williamson area and you need a podcast studio just like this, reach out to my good friend Jerry McCarthy. So we're back. I wanted to do an episode. Usually my episodes is all centered around fatherhood, which that's my passion. But today I want to do a podcast episode that's centered around men's health. And so I brought in a doctor, an expert that's dealing with one of the serious issues out here that I think a lot of people don't talk about, which is sleep apnea. So my guest today is the author of Nobody's Sleeping, 7 Proven Steps, Strategies for Better Health and Happiness. And I'd like to welcome my guest, Dr. John. So welcome, Dr. John, and welcome to Stronger Than My Father podcast.
Thanks, Marcus. It's been a pleasure. So let's dive right into it, brother.
All right. The first thing I want to dive in is, for my audience, let's explain the definition. We hear the word sleep apnea all the time. And before we dive in deep into your book, what is the definition of just a person that says, I've been diagnosed with sleep apnea?
So if you look at Google and do the research of what people are searching, would you believe it? That's number 2 in the search when sleep problems.
Wow.
The number 1 is insomnia, that people can't sleep. The second one is sleep apnea. But the most important thing here is there is a word prior to that. It's called obstructive sleep apnea, Marcus. Mm-hmm. We forget obstruction. So what's happening when you sleep at night, the tongue falls back and obstructs the airway. So It's obstructive sleep apnea. So the symptoms are people snore because air is going through an obstructed passage. Just imagine a pipe and water is running. Mm-hmm. And if you narrow that pipe, it's going to create turbulence. Snoring is nothing but that sound of reverberation and all those tissues just vibrating on the back of the throat. So that's snoring. Next is the spouse saying, hey, you're stopping breathing. So that's the word apnea. It's derived from the Greek word apnea, meaning stopping breathing. And then the next symptom is being tired the next day, because when you have multiple episodes of apnea at night, the brain says, man, you're going to die. I'm going to wake you up. So usually the symptoms, you stop breathing, you snore, and then the brain wakes you up, and then you are actually literally being woken up. You might sleep 7-8 hours, but you are tired because you're not sleeping well. So those are the 3 signs: snoring, stopping breathing, and being tired the next day. Yeah. And apnea comes from the Greek word called, meaning to stop breathing.
Wow. So when a person wakes up and they're coughing, like they're like gasping for breath, that's when the apnea, that's when someone's going through. Now, when they're going through sleep apnea, so when your brain is waking up, so that means it's telling your body that it's about to shut down. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. So if a person's tongue goes in the back of their mouth, is it like curled up, or do it just goes to the back of your mouth?
It goes straight back. It's like a log of brick, just calls, because the gravity pulls, especially on your back. That's why the famous elbow sign, the spouse elbows you. Yeah. I've received a few in my life. So then you roll over, and then that moves the tongue out, at least for a little bit. Okay. So the tongue just
Let me ask you this. Yes. With the tongue, I've noticed I wake up sometime, my tongue feels funny. Mm-hmm. Like it's got like a tingling early in the morning. Is that a sign, or is just... I'm getting scared talking with you, but I know it's the truth, and I know we need to talk about it.
Most importantly, you have a dry mouth. See, what happens when there's a blockage with your body, it does open the mouth. So to get the bigger breath, you open your mouth. Okay. So that's why there is all this wrong information about mouth taping. Mouth taping is good for young athletic people who are training. But if you have sleep apnea, you're opening your mouth to save yourself. Now you're putting a tape to close your mouth. So that's the recipe for disaster. So there's a lot of wrong information. That's why I said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to come on podcasts, share information and knowledge to people so everybody can make their own decisions.
Now, let me ask you, the first chapter in your book is warning signs that you may have sleep apnea. can you give me like maybe your top 3 warning signs? I know it's probably more than 3, but what are your top 3 warning signs for anybody that's listening that, hey, you may need to go get checked out because you may have sleep apnea?
Correct. So the number one, your body responds to the apnea. So your blood pressure is supposed to be lower at night.
Yeah.
But then when you have an apnea, your blood pressure stays high. So if you have uncontrolled blood pressure, same thing for diabetes. If you have uncontrolled diabetes, if you have weight gain, if you're feeling anxious or depressed. So those are the common effects on the body: uncontrolled blood pressure, uncontrolled diabetes, weight gain, and in a mental fog and being anxious and depressed all day long. So your body is already telling, hey, we need to go get your sleep evaluated.
Now, what about those people who are not big? Like, I'm a big guy. And I told you, we were talking before we got on the air, fuss at me because I need to know this stuff because I want to live long. Because I've known athletes that die from sleep apnea and people who died in their sleep, and definitely want to hit that at the end. But what about people who are healthy? Do most healthy people go through sleep apnea, or is it more people that's obese and big?
That's a great question. A third of my clients who come and see me are skinny. So there, the problem is the position of the jaw. You know, if you see the jaw being pushed backwards, and that pushes the tongue backwards. So,
wow.
Yes. And there's a little clue. Most men who grow beards have a...
Man, I'm cutting my beard off. Jim, I'm cutting my beard off, man. He is killing me. Go ahead. I didn't know the beard affects that.
Yeah, because, that's the way to cover that, chin. Not all, but there's quite a bit. So a third of people are known to be overweight, so because there's a structural problem. And of course, if you have the same jaw problem, if your throat's narrow, it's also genetic and it is hereditary. You can't do anything about it. See, the thing about weight is distributed evenly all over the body. So imagine it also deposits in the neck and it's narrowing the neck. And then when you lay down and go to sleep, everything relaxes. And on top of it, if you have alcohol or sleeping pills, even melatonin.
Yeah, we got to talk about melatonin, man.
That makes that airway smaller. So those are some of the risk factors.
Okay, well, that's cool then. I want to do the word you have in here is jet lag. Can you explain to people why people feel like the jet lag in the morning? Because when you first I heard jet lag, I'm thinking getting off a plane and you having issues. So if you can explain to my audience a little bit about jet lag.
So jet lag is, there's something called the circadian rhythm. So our body has its own clock, which is, do you know how close it is? It's actually 24 hours and a 30-second difference. So it's almost similar to the 24-hour clock we have.
Yeah.
So that's why we do certain things at certain time. So when you're traveling, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you are here. I'm going to use the European tour, right?
Okay.
You go from here and you're landing in Germany. Germany is 8 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So let's say you are leaving here at, let's say 4 in the afternoon, and now 8 hours, that's midnight.
Yeah.
So your body is, really sleeping.
Yeah.
But then in about 4 hours there, you're awake.
Yeah.
So you are like, you are you have to do what's over there.
Yeah.
So your body is lagging behind. So that's called jet lag. I have several methods how to avoid that. You need to go to bed a few days earlier, and then go over there and follow the time that's over there. So
now, does it affect, like, if you go out of town and the time changes? Did that have any effect? Like, I was in Atlanta this past weekend and they're an hour ahead of us.
Yes.
But it seemed like when I got back home, I was tired Monday morning. Yes. I was really tired. And I'm like, mentally, I'm like, how can I be that tired when I drove home? I had plenty of time to sleep. Why am I so tired Monday morning?
Did you come on the same day or the next day?
The next day.
All right. So your body takes 1 day to adjust for 1 hour.
I didn't know that.
So,
wow.
If you go to Atlanta today, it will be by tomorrow, and the following day you will get better. Okay. But by the time you're coming back.
Okay.
See, it takes 1 hour to adjust for 1 hour for 24 hours to adjust for, it takes a day to adjust for 1 hour. So European tour or a trip, it's 8 hours. You'll take 8 days to adjust
your body
by the time you're coming back.
Yeah.
So you're putting your body through a lot.
Wow. So. Well, I just saw the word jet lag. I'm going to ask him a question more about that.
Yes.
But one thing we talked about before we go into the mental health and everything, I'm a huge component of melatonin. One of my staff members told me, Mark, I give my husband melatonin so he can go to sleep and don't get on my nerves. So I got addicted to melatonin, and I would go to Costco's and I would buy the bottle, and feel like when I didn't have it, I was trying to figure out how can I go to sleep. And I'm not bashing melatonin. Some people may need it, but for someone who's big like me, what is, and then maybe somebody listen, what are the dangers of me taking, and I have to admit, and I told you before we got on the air, is that I have a habit, the gummies, they taste sweet, and I just take 2 or 3, and I feel like it'll help me go to sleep. But the problem is I will sleep from like maybe 10 or 11, and at 3 in the morning, I'm wide awake, and I cannot sleep. And it takes me at least to about 5:30 in the morning, and then when I go to sleep then, I can't get up. So what is that, if you can say in the medical terms, why some people need it and why some people probably no need to use it, if that's okay.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Have you gradually increased the dose of melatonin?
Yeah, I went from, when it says on the bottle 1, and I'm hard-headed, and I went to 3, and that's it. And I just go to sleep, and my wife says, Mark, you playing with fire. And I'm like, nah, these gummies ain't that strong. And I go to sleep, but I just never know. So that's why I'm doing this episode to, number one, educate myself, because I want to live long, and I want to, make mistakes that can take me out of this world unless it's my time to go. But I want to be smart as well.
Are you a basketball player?
No, I'm just golfing whenever I can play decent enough.
No. Tonight, take that bottle and just throw it like a basketball player into the trash can of your melatonin. That's what I want you to do.
Okay.
So I use melatonin only for 2 things.
Okay.
Jet lag, because your bodies might need a little bit of, or people who have clock problems. Some people go to bed earlier, elderly, older adults, they go to bed earlier. I use it in them. And sometimes kids go to bed later. I use it in them. Other than that, I never use melatonin as an hypnotic. So what is the beauty of it? We have our own melatonin. Why you need another melatonin, right? So the body is still very mysterious. It doesn't give melatonin evenly. It just gives a little bit, and then it puts a big surge that is related to your drop in core body temperature, which happens later at night. So that's when the maximum melatonin. Yeah. Now here you are taking melatonin from the outside, and the body will develop tolerance to it, right? Just like alcohol. If you had a buzz with 1 glass of wine, then in a few weeks you need 2 and then 3. So just like what's happening with you develop tolerance. Your body is so tricky, it gets used to it. It's because our body, like I said, it doesn't secrete melatonin all at once. But if you chew on a gummy, you have this huge rush, and that's what puts you to sleep. And then there is a crash. Yeah. And that's what wakes you up. You don't need melatonin. If you follow my 7 sleep strategies, you don't need melatonin. I've never taken a single melatonin in my life.
So one thing you said, and I'm just thinking about that, we talked before there. So once you take it out, I think I took it because I want to go sleep fast.
Yes.
I don't want to use the normal process of going to sleep.
Yes.
And I like the little ocean waves, so I listen to that, and I go to. I'm telling you, I could take 2 or 3, and I'm gone. But the problem is, like you said, and I don't know if it's a jet lag or not, but I'll wake up at 3 in the morning, and I should just get up and go work out. But the point is, I have not. They tell you, and you can ask me. Tell me the proper amount of time you need to sleep, because my dad, you don't need about 3 or 4 hours of sleep. You don't need that much sleep. And I used to brainwash myself to think I don't need a whole lot of sleep. But I feel like the older I get, and my mind is always running during the week because of the work I do, making that time to sleep. So I understand the rush, but now at 48, and if you could tell my audience, and I'm probably dipping over the question, what's the proper amount of time older I need to sleep at age 48 versus when I was in my 20s where I felt like I didn't have to sleep a whole lot?
Most adults need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep, right? So we have different stages and different cycles of sleep.
Okay.
So there is non-REM, REM. We need different components of that. And in non-REM, we have like 3 stages. Yeah. So we need a percentage of all that to feel rested. In REM, we have our dreams, and then you healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need some healing. And in non-REM sleep, it's the deepest, that's when you rest. So all that happens. It's better. The best time to sleep is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's when you.
Oh, okay.
You know, so if you look at, you have more non-REM sleep when you go to bed earlier on, and then more REM sleep in the morning. So that's why when people die in their sleep, you actually die in REM sleep or REM sleep, because that's when your heart's crazy, your blood pressure's crazy, and that's when you're prone for irregular heart rate or what we call arrhythmias. So that's what happens to people who, I can almost tell if you die in your sleep, most people die between 2 and 5. That's when you have more REM sleep.
Is that because you're going into that deep sleep?
It's kind of like REM is there's a misperception.
Yeah.
It's not deep sleep. It's one of those things we need for conflict resolution.
Yeah.
That's when you have your dreams, but you don't act out your dreams. That's when you heal. So we need that. But real rest happens early on.
Okay, got it.
So to answer your question, when your dad said there's a certain percentage of people who need only less sleep, like Elon Musk was, he doesn't need much sleep. So he actually thought everybody in the world does not need much sleep like him. Now he realizes everybody is not like him, right? So 99% of all of us need about 7 to 8 hours sleep. Some people who are called short sleepers need only a few hours, and I'm not.
Is that healthy? Is that healthy sleeping like 4 hours a day?
Yeah.
Is that healthy? That's what I want to know. Is that
so
healthy?
Those people get a lot of deep sleep within that 4 hours. That's a genetic gift. That is a trait.
Okay.
So the question is, if you feel great in the morning after sleeping 4 hours, more power to you. The most high achieving people, the CEO of most companies, I see some of them, and they're struggling because their family make fun of them. I tell them, hey, you're a short sleeper, and they leave relieved. So not many people have that. The high functioning people do have it. That's a gift. That's why they are working more and more, being more productive. And most of us need that 7 to 8 hours to be at our optimal best.
Well, I believe what you said when you said it was a gift, because the late Kobe Bryant said he didn't sleep a whole lot. He would get up at this time, go work out. He would do this, but he said he would average about 4 hours of sleep a night because of his work. He had a routine of his work schedule.
Yes.
And sometimes I was like, I want to do it that way. And I could be telling myself, Mark, you're going to get up at 4, you're going to get ready for the gym, you're going to go do this, and then I'm not doing it.
Kobe was a rarity. But if you ask LeBron, I think I highlighted that in my reel. One small kid, hey, what is the best thing you can do? He says, sleep. The first answer is self-care. So Kobe is that short sleeper. But most other athletes, all of them will prioritize sleep. LeBron sleeps minimum 8 hours. And then so did Tom Brady and any other, Roger Federer. They all, the greats in all, Kobe was an exception. So the thing is, the regular folks who need more sleep are trying to model something that we are not. So then you'll get burnt out. You see what I'm saying? This is the misinformation so even Elon Musk thought all of his employees should work like him. Then he went on the radio and TV and said, no, hey, I'm wrong. Everybody needs to sleep. You see what I'm saying? So we can't copy others. We have to know what we are given the gift, because you need your brain to rest. For all the regular us, we don't have the genetic lottery.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you told me that, because I keep thinking I could sleep like my dad. I'm just being just like him, and my dad was like, Dad didn't hardly sleep at all. I think now
he may be a short sleeper.
He's a short sleeper, but he'll wake up he'll go to sleep at 8 o'clock, but he'll wake up at like 2 in the morning, but he'll stay up to like 4, and then he'll go back to sleep. So I just didn't know is that genetics. My problem is, because I know I take melatonin, I get that rush sleep, and then I wake up and I can't go back to sleep, and then about 4 or 5 in the morning I go to sleep and I can't find myself. It's tougher to get up, but that's what I'm gonna work on. But I want to dive more into your book. One that I can't wait to, continue this book in the chapter is sleep and mental health.
Yes.
Mental health is a big word out here that a lot of people talk about, is their mental capacity. How does is not getting a lot of sleep, a lack of a lot of sleep affect your mental health?
Sure. I think it's on page 94. I have a nice diagram of how it's a cycle where poor sleep affects, makes you more anxious, and you can be more depressed. And anxiety and depression worsen sleep. It's a vicious cycle. So just by healing or sleeping better, you can heal your mental health. We heal in our sleep. Sleep is spiritual. That's why the dreams are to, like, I don't like Marcus. I'm going to fight with him in my dreams.
I don't know why people dream like that.
People have problems with their bosses or their relatives or their spouses. They resolve all that in the REM sleep. It's healing. It's mysterious, right?
That's weird.
It's biblical. People dream about dreams, and there's so many interpretations of dreams. So we have to sleep to heal. So just by sleeping, you feel refreshed. When you're in a mental fog, you seem to be more anxious, right?
Yeah.
And then you are in a mental fog. See, sleep, Marcus, is the superpower. It is free. It's for everyone. I think the whole world will be better if you sleep better. And that's my mission. And that's what I'm going all over the world talking about, the superpower of sleep and teaching people how to sleep better.
So when you hear the word that you woke up grouchy, and I've heard that a lot.
Yes.
You woke up grouchy. Is that usually due to the lack of sleep that someone has? Because I feel like if you wake up in the morning, you should feel refreshed. But I hear the word that you woke up grouchy or you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Is that usually tend to a person not getting a lack of sleep?
Correct. The lack of sleep is the tip of the iceberg. So when I see somebody, they're telling me they're not sleeping well, first thing I ask them is, do they have a medical problem, right? Medical conditions like diabetes, you wake up many times and use the restroom, heart problems, lung problem, you're not breathing well. So first I rule all that out. Even sometimes thyroid problem, low iron can cause restless legs, you're moving your legs a lot. So and then I look into mental health problems, like you're anxious or depressed. And then the third thing I ask is, do they have a sleep disorder like sleep apnea, limb movement disorder, or REM behavior disorder? So when I ask all that questions, I have an answer. Why are they not sleeping well?
Wow.
So that's where my medical background, I'm just not a sleep specialist. I have expertise in all the other areas. So then I know, many times I have, folks who have sleep apnea, they have heart problems, they're short of breath, because of COPD or emphysema, they're not sleeping well. Or in fact, it could be medications they use to treat the blood pressure, some of the beta blockers commonly used, they affect the quality of sleep. And then, diuretic, the water pill, that makes you pee at night. So I just tell them to change the time when they take these medications.
Yeah.
So we can improve a lot by dialing into the history. And then, of course, if they're taking, melatonin.
He go jump on me for the melatonin.
And, sometimes people drink caffeine. The caffeine, it can act up to 12 hours. My own daughter she's called me and said, Dad, I'm not sleeping well out there. I said, hey, what are you doing? What's your favorite thing to do? We go on, and then I go to the store and, buy caffeine and drink a macchiato. Oh, wow, there's your answer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you look into this history, it's little things can make a lot of little things can make a huge difference in people's sleep.
Well, I got to talk to you offline about my wife's sleep, because she hear this, she'll kill me. But let's go into chapter 6. You talked about weight gain and weight loss and sleep. Let's talk about how that affects a person. I'm a big guy, so if you can use me as a study, that's fine. How does weight gain affects your sleep?
Good. That's a great topic and a great question. So the simple fact, when you're awake for many hours because you're not sleeping, you have a chance to eat more. The classic is the shift workers. They are fighting sleep, and they're more awake than more people because they have to adjust, and most people are eating. And guess what? When you are tired and in a fog, you reach out for the simple foods like energy drinks, potato chips, sodas,
my favorite.
right? You're not making the good choices. Guess what?
Yeah.
When you eat high glycemic food, meaning foods that have high sugar, you have a natural tendency not to sleep. This is kind of personal because somebody called our office and says, Dr. John, I'm so grateful. I went through life, and because this gentleman was poor, his dad felt when you eat ice cream, you're kind of like rich. So he fed his children ice cream every night.
No, that's a lot of sugar and stuff.
Yeah,
man.
so the child did not sleep, and he went through all of childhood thinking there's something wrong with him. He said he finally read my book, and he was like, to know the answer why he didn't sleep as a child was because of the high sugary food.
Yeah.
So just being awake, you're going to eat more.
Yeah.
Next, most important is the lack of sleep alters our ratio of the hormones that control diet.
Yeah.
See, there's two hormones called leptin and ghrelin. Leptin lowers our appetite, ghrelin increases our appetite. When you don't sleep much, the ratios are reversed. You have more of ghrelin, less of leptin. So you're more hungry. And then the third component right here is when you are overweight, you are at risk for sleep disorder, especially sleep apnea. And then what happens? You're not, you're tired.
Yeah.
Your metabolism is lowered. You don't have the energy to exercise, and you gain more weight, and then you have more sleep apnea. You see how the lack of sleep, the time, the sleep disorder, and the chemistry of the hormone alteration. So all three affect your weight.
So if you can lose the weight, does it help with maybe your jaw or face, tongue? Does that help with any of that stuff, or it was all mental?
No, I tell people if you lose 10% of your weight, you can improve a lot of your sleep disorders, especially sleep apnea.
Okay.
Right? But you cannot lose weight without fixing your sleep.
You're right.
So everybody is focusing when New Year happens. They want to work out. They want to eat right. But I think it should be the foundation is we also have to sleep right before you can have, somebody from the health industry read my book, and I'm having an interview with them next week. They said, wow, this is it. So they started implementing sleep as a package for all the workout clients. See, if you don't sleep well, you don't have the energy to work out in the morning.
Exactly.
So you should be, if you're losing weight, if you're planning to get fit, you have to have sleep as a talking point. It has to be in the equation.
Well, I was wondering when you was talking about the weight gain and stuff, I'm sitting here thinking like, man, I need to, because I think sometimes in my mind, I'm like, I'm 48, I'll be fine. I don't need to go get no sleep apnea. I'm fine. But I wake up a lot during the night. So I just didn't, but I don't go eat. So I know a lot of people get up early in the morning, they go eat something. I don't do that. Now, every now and then I may get a sip of water or something, but I never go eat in the middle of the night because of the weight gain and stuff like that. So that's another area of my life where I know I got to work on it. And so when I finish this book, I know it's going to give me a great insight on understanding why weight loss is important. The last one I want to hit, and then I got some more questions, is I think a lot of men need to understand how sleep helps with sexual health.
Yes.
And so we can discuss that part briefly in your book of why you feel like sleep can definitely, does it increase better sexual health, or without the lack of sleep, you're going to have some issues?
Yes. So before I go into that, let me parlay into the age. So you are approaching the age close to what I call MAN-opause. Just like menopause, men testosterone is going to lower in a minute. Same thing with women. So when we lose testosterone in men and estrogen in women, we are at risk for sleep apnea, because remember, these hormones keep everything in good stead, like strong. When you don't have it, things lag or sag. So the back of your throat's going to sag in a minute. So
man, you already give me dirt. I thought menopause was just for women. I didn't think about it for men.
It's called MAN-opause.
Is that real for real?
I think I made that up.
Okay.
so you know what I'm trying to say. So you have testosterone begins to drop in men in the beginning of 40s, and for sure from 45 to 55 we also have low testosterone. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
So that predisposes. So to prevent sleep apnea, you need to work now, because every year you wait, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Right? Now let's go into the sexual health.
Yeah. But let me ask you, before you go there, let me ask, I've always heard, and I've seen the commercial about testosterone. If you can just give me a little bit more of, like, in men, it's like, if they tell me my testosterone, somebody tell me my I can't get the word right. Testosterone is low. I'm probably going to be like, okay. So when they tell me, hey, Mark, your testosterone is low, what are they telling me?
So, I mean, sometimes it's the functioning, your libido.
Okay.
If you have low testosterone and your libido is good, then it's okay. Some people will need to build muscles, then people take a shot. Testosterone is a double-edged weapon. It's kind of interesting. Lack of testosterone causes sleep apnea, and too much testosterone causes sleep apnea too. So,
oh, wow. So you have to balance that.
Yeah, lack of testosterone causes the relaxation of the muscles. But when you have too much testosterone, it changes the glycogen and the tissues around the neck. And I can see people taking testosterone. I can just see from their faces and their shoulders, it's kind of like tight.
Yeah.
And so that actually is compressing. So it's a double-edged weapon. So anytime when you talk about testosterone replacement, you have to be under the care of an expert who knows both sides of this double-edged weapon. You just don't go get testosterone just because it's low from somebody who doesn't have the training, because you're going to end up in trouble.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing that. So
too much would be just a little. I don't know. Does it make you wild? Does it just? I mean, I don't know.
It messes. It's so many side effects. You can increase the red blood cell.
Oh,
you can have, like psychosis.
Wow.
And then, of course, you can gain weight, aggressive behavior, high blood pressure. So there are so many side effects. God has a plan for all of us.
Yeah.
He's got a shelf life. There's a reason why, that things happen when it's supposed to happen.
I know, man. I just turned 48 last week, and I'm sitting here listening to you like, man, I got to go through all this stuff. And or women, being married, you have a wife who has to go through menopause and stuff like that. I need to get some training, because I do not know how all that works. I just know, what's your problem? That'd be my first question. Like, if something's not normal, I'm asking, what's your problem? So that's something that I'm going to get some research about. But last question I want to kind of talk about is, I know this is for men, but just if it's a female listening, what would you tell women? You told me that women doesn't deal with sleep apnea, but it's insomnia. So can you explain the two with women and how it's different from men? So
the two most common sleep disorders: insomnia, which is difficulty either starting sleep or maintaining sleep.
Yeah.
And the next big thing is sleep apnea. See, men have more sleep apnea because of the simple reason they snore more.
What? Men snore more than women?
Yes.
Okay.
So because our windpipes are longer,
yeah,
and the voice box, just imagine a trumpet, the voice box the larynx is bigger. So the sound gets amplified in the voice box.
Yeah.
So your snoring is much more. So men get diagnosed with sleep apnea much earlier.
Okay.
Women, on the other hand, they don't snore much. And then, the estrogen keeps everything in perfect order.
Yeah.
The changes in the throat's not much, but when they lose that, men and women have the same ratio. So that's why women's sleep is very nuanced. Women don't sleep by nature because they are the nurturers. So finally, they have to raise children, and then finally they get a break, and then menopause happens. So now we have a double whammy. You don't sleep well, and you also have sleep apnea. So the pendulum swings, and and of course you have other medical reasons also. You're at risk for urinary tract infections, and so that's why I dedicated a chapter for women, because I see a lot of
so my wife read that one.
Folks in my clinic too. So
now you did mention one thing. That you said a lot of women struggle with like low iron and stuff like that, and you said low iron can affect your sleep as well, right?
Correct. So there's a condition called restless leg syndrome, where people are fidgety in the evenings. They're moving around, rubbing their legs. It's actually a simple deficiency of an iron. So that's a disorder most people, are not aware of. You're rubbing, you're moving, you're kicking your legs in your sleep. So it's just an iron deficiency. Once you correct that, you will resolve that problem. It's called restless leg syndrome,
I did not know that.
Yes.
Well, you really opened my eyes to why sleep apnea is a serious issue. And I think people need to read your book, mainly because if people are here dying from this, and I know we had talked about the statistics, you said more African American, Asian are dying from sleep apnea. Did you find that through research to have that statistic?
Yes. It's very common in African American because of the way the throat's built, and so in Asians. So I have a reference to it, and if you look at my clinic, that's where I see. Of course, the famous football player, Reggie White. His wife has gone on a campaign, and she has spread the news about sleep apnea in football players. So. It happens. So what happens is every time you have an apnea, the brain wakes you up. It's like a thermostat. Sometimes the thermostat gets numb or it doesn't trigger. So
that's when you gone.
Then that's when the heart like has to work harder and say, hey, there's no breath. It starts to go crazy. And that's when you trigger an arrhythmia, and that's why most people die as a complication of sleep apnea.
So when a lot of people die in their sleep and they say they died of a heart attack, is that the reason why?
Correct. If you look at the one underlying factor is that's easily treatable, right? You can treat sleep apnea, and I tell people, if you treat sleep apnea, you'll add 10 years to your life. You control your blood pressure, you control your diabetes. It's your insurance. Treatment of sleep disorders is your insurance policy at night. We have all the insurance policies during the day. Yeah. But when you're sleeping, you need an insurance policy too.
So let me ask, I didn't ask this question before we close, is why for people who have sleep apnea, a lot of people don't like wearing the CPAP, if I'm saying it right?
Correct.
God, I'm glad I said that right.
Yes.
Why is it so important for people who have sleep apnea I know people don't like putting the big machines on. I've seen the commercial where they fumbling. I know you have a device that's smaller that you can use. So how does the sleep apnea, not sleep apnea, but the CPAP, how does that help you sleep better at night?
Correct. So the word CPAP means continuous positive airway pressure. So this pressure pushes the tongue out. It's literally a splint. It opens up there. So when I see somebody with that problem, they can't tolerate, I ask them, is that mask is the problem? Is the machine or the pressure the problem, or you are the problem, right? So I divide them into three categories.
Yeah.
See, most times they're not set by experts. Today, to see a sleep expert is minimum 6 months, and then to do a lab test with all the COVID and all the precautions, it takes a year to diagnose the treatment. So the machine may be not set right. Today we have facial scanning things to scan your face to fit the right mask, and the machines are so much better. And then I explain to people the severity of the reason why your treatment. So I work on all three areas, right? So then let's say you don't like the CPAP. There are other alternative treatments like an oral appliance. I work with a dentist, and then there is a device that is a tongue stimulator, strengthens the tongue. Tongue is a big muscle, so when it is strong, that's the device I use for myself. I tried CPAP and the new technology came. I use that, and then there's a newer thing called Inspire device, which is actually it's a pacemaker kind of device which stimulates the tongue to get out of the way at night. So we have all these new technologies, and you don't have to go to the hospital or a center to you get diagnosed in your own home. Home sleep testing has revolutionized diagnosis. So a lot of advances, and now they're talking about medications for treating sleep apnea. There's some of those medications that are already in phases of trial, so maybe in a few years we'll have that. So first thing we need to understand how severe the problem is.
Okay.
Next, we need to take the stigma of why people are not using it, and then talking about alternatives. So when we cover all these bases, people are willing for treatment.
That's cool, man. I think just people need to know the knowledge. That's why I'm glad that we use this podcast more on health. You're the first doctor I ever had on my podcast to talk about men's health. Two things. Where can people buy your book? And then where can people come visit you? So if anybody listens to this podcast and says, you know what, I need to visit a doctor about my sleep apnea, where can they find you?
So Marcus, I've been knowing you for almost 2 years now.
Yes, sir.
We met at BNI, and thank you for having me on the show. So, my book is available everywhere. It's on Amazon and every major retailers. You can go to Barnes & Noble, everywhere else. So that's where you can get it. And I'm also have my clinic in Brentwood. It's called Sleep Wellness Clinics.
Yes.
And then I'm also people who are busy. They don't have time to see me. A lot of online help. It's called the Sleep Fix Academy.
Yes.
So I have a sleep course and a lot of information. People can do the self-help on the web, and there's a lot of information out there. And you can follow me. I am Dr. Sleep Fix on all the social media. I am the Dr. Sleep Fix. So, I want to spread. See, there's a lot of misinformation. People are searching for help, right?
Yes.
But they get the wrong information. So my aim is to give the right information. Of course, the right right? Information is going to be hard to follow, right?
Yes.
There's no shortcuts. I tell people the preparation is like taking stairs. You have to work hard, but in 2 weeks you feel better, right?
Yeah.
Don't you want to feel better and be at your optimal best, smiling, laughing? I've discovered the superpower despite my own struggles. So that's why I've developed the strategies, and I want to share it with the world. So if I can do it, everybody can do it. I've made it easy.
Yes.
So let's go sleeping, and let's all be well and sleep well.
Well, I appreciate you, number one, coming by and doing this podcast, because people need to know that, sleep apnea is a serious problem, and you don't want to have to continue to deal with these issues if you can fix it. And I think your book, I know your book is giving the answers, because you've already enlightened my eyes. And so I can't wait to finish this so I can sleep better. Because I have some bad habits I need to change. You updated my life about melatonin and sleep aids and stuff like that. Because I know a lot of people use different type of sleep aids just to sleep at night. And I know that's not the right thing to do. If your body produces all these things in your body, if you said, you should be able to sleep. So Thank you so much. And I'm probably going to bring you back for a part 2 so we can talk more about sleeping. But please, you guys, buy this book. It'll change your life, especially if you're struggling with sleeping. Please visit Dr. John and support his book. Leave a review on Google, which I will, because I want to sleep better. I got to get my mind together and sleep better. So thank you, Dr. John, so much for coming on the podcast. And if you like what you hear today, please click the subscribe button on YouTube and help us reach 1,000 followers by the end of the year. And also, if you like what you hear, please consider leaving a donation of any size to help us keep this podcast on the air. This stuff costs, the production stuff costs to keep podcasts going and going. So if you like what you hear, please go to strongerthanmyfather.org/donate and help us continue to fight for fatherhood. God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you again on Stronger Than My Father podcast.